Radio. Backpack Radio. Ladies and gentlemen. Backpack Radio. Ladies and gentlemen. This is Backpack Radio. Ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen. Backpack Radio. Get ready, 'cause here we go. This is Backpack Radio.
With your host, Vocab Malone.
What's up, y'all? This is Vocab Malone. You are listening to a special edition of Backpack Radio Live. That's the official name of the show. Backpack Radio Live. I'm your host, Vocab Malone, Christian apologist, blah, blah, blah. Check out past archive shows at backpackradio.com. Peep out my website as well, vocabmalone.com, where you can pick up my book, Barack Obama versus the Black Hebrew Israelites. It does not deal with today's topic, though. It deals with something different, which you can gather by the title, I hope. And I also hope you can hear me. Today's topic, though, is discussing September 11th, 2001. Discussing September 11th, 2001. That's going to be the topic of today's show, of which I'm very excited. Although, of course, can be a sobering topic, as you could well imagine. What we're going to do, though, here on Backpack Radio, which is, an apologetic show. We focus on urban apologetic issues from a Christian biblical worldview. And what we're going to do here today is, in the beginning, discuss some of the issues related to what happened on September 11, 2001, 17 years ago. And then we're going to bring on a special guest. And actually, that reminds me, I'm going to check something on Skype to make sure our special guest is set up. While I'm doing that, will you guys please grab the link? Go ahead and grab the link. And then I also want you to please share it right now and smash the like button. Please do that. All right, looks like we'll be good in a little bit with our special guest. All right, so with that, it is time to begin. We're going to get right into it. I'll bring out the backpack later, everybody, for those who understand that part of the show. But we're going to get right into it like this. And then, again, please share the show on social media. Please smash that like button. The lights. You know what? Let me try to turn off this light and see if this fixes it. Maybe that'll help. Helps a little bit. The Al-Qaeda Reader. I'm going to be reading from the Al-Qaeda Reader. It's a translation from Arabic speaker, specifically Raymond Ibrahim. And what it does is it takes key documents from Al-Qaeda, translates them into English. For those who do not know, Al-Qaeda was an organization began in 1988 by Osama bin Laden. And 10 years later, he carried out his first major attack, which was documented and well known, and he did several others through Al-Qaeda, which simply means the base in Arabic. And he got his start prior to that, around 79 or so, when he fought with the freedom fighters, so-called, during the Afghan and Russian War. And Osama bin Laden will later go on to be part of masterminding the September 11th, 2001 attacks. And what are those? That is where the Twin Towers in New York City came a-tumbling down because two hijacked jets flown by men who would describe themselves as faithful Muslims ran into the Twin Towers there with the idea of striking a blow at America's commercial capital in a way. Of course, there's also a plane that ran into the Pentagon, did some damage there, some lives lost there, and another hijacked plane that ran into a field which apparently was intended for the White House. And America responded, but has America really grown in its understanding in those 17 years of what lies at the heart of Islamic terrorism? By the way, Fizzle Out, I love what you did there. Do you guys Do you guys see what my man did? Let me try to bring. I want everyone to see that if I can. Hold on. Let me try to make everybody be able to see that real quick. That was pretty cool what you did there, man. Let me see. Okay, how do I do that? Come on. I'm trying to bring up your comment there. It's giving me problems. Sometimes that happens. I want to bring up your comment real quick. Because you gave in the super chat. I mean, you know what you did. Everybody, my man, check out the amount that Fizzle Out gave in the super chat. Pretty cool if you ask me. Why can't I see your comments, though? I'm having a little trouble with the comment section of this. I hope that doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to bring up any comments the whole show. Eventually I'll get to it, don't worry. Just having a problem right now. Alright, where are those comments? Hold on, I'm going to try one other thing while you guys are grabbing this. Okay, there we go. Thank you. I'm glad that I check out my man Fizzle Out with the super chat and a special amount of $9.11. Okay, so with that, this book helps us understand the rationale, which is primary theological, of Al-Qaeda. And I'm going to read large sections of it to you, okay? You're going to be able to understand this. Now, here's the background of this. We have a situation where a number of intellectual Muslims who wanted to sort of speak to the West wrote a document shortly after the 9/11 attacks. And in this document, they made what you might consider concessions or compromises with the idea that, hey, you know, we don't have to be at odds, right? Was the idea. And what it was originally titled, where did it go? Oh, did I just lose track of it? Yeah. It was actually published by the Saudis, and it was called How We Can Coexist. So these are mainly Saudi intellectuals. How we can coexist. And so this is a Saudi document by Muslims, and what happens is Al-Qaeda disagrees with the stance, and there's a essay here that was either authorized or written by Osama bin Laden himself, and it's titled Moderate Islam is a Prostration to the West. Let me begin reading it. Right away in the beginning, it starts with the first paragraph, and then right away begins quoting scripture. 2 scriptures right there from the Quran. And then it says this, and prayers and peace be upon his prophet who said, curse of Allah be upon the Jews and Christians. They took the tombs of their prophets as places of worship. Now, Christians do not worship tombs of their prophets, but maybe I could see why you get that with certain misunderstandings. But here we go now. I'm going to read directly from the document itself. Are you guys ready? I'm going to read large sections, and I'm going to explain it there. Okay, here we go, page 23. I've got it all marked up. The Declaration is proof of defeatism from its very name alone, how we can coexist. If one of the foundations of our religion is how to coexist with infidels, they're saying that's defeatism. And if they had clarified to the West how the Muslim is to coexist with the infidel based upon Quranic verses and hadiths, then it would have been a blessed enterprise, saying if they would explain jizya. But instead, it's the Declaration's starting point of coexisting with the West is to approve of their ideologies and do whatever gains their favor. That's really the sort of thesis of this whole document here. Let me continue on going here. The Islam preached by the advocates of interreligious dialogue does not contain the doctrine of loyalty and enmity. That's loyalty to Muhammad and the Ummah, and enmity against all unbelievers. Nor does it contain offensive jihad, nor boundaries established by the Sharia, since it is these very doctrines that worry the West most. Al-Qaeda here, Osama bin Laden, is saying that this document leaves out the sections that Westerners find offensive on purpose. Continuing on, this is page 25 of the book, by the way. And the West already possesses certain knowledge that these fundamentals are the point of conflict with the Muslim and not the other principles. Catch that? It's axiomatic, this disagreement. I skip a couple pages, go to page 27. And again, I'm reading from a document authorized or authored by Osama bin Laden. And this is shortly after 9/11, and this is by Al-Qaeda, who is responsible for 9/11 attacks back in 2001. And what we have here is a situation where some Saudi intellectuals wrote a document and Al-Qaeda is responding to it. Now listen to this. Where are your declarations, denunciations, and repudiations regarding the slaughter befalling Muslims in Palestine, Afghanistan, Iraq, the Philippines, Indonesia, Chechnya, Eritrea, Kashmir, or how about Gujarat, where just 20 days ago 1,000 Muslims were burned alive? So isn't it ironic that here terrorists are concerned about perceived persecution against Muslims? Do you catch that? They're still victims, even. It's amazing. Going over here to page 28, it also advances a dialogue among civilizations lest they clash. This is an infidel notion imported from the West verbatim. It's saying that the idea of coexisting through dialogue is a Western infidel notion. Then there are flat-out lies directed against the Muslims and that suggest that their religion agrees with much that is from the West. They're saying that the documents by these Saudis, how we can coexist, are trying to appease the West, but they're inaccurate. Continuing on here, page 30 of the book. For the declaration is completely flawed when it comes to the teachings of our religion. That is, faith in Allah alone, all the prophets, in emulation of Muhammad, upholding the doctrine of loyalty and enmity, repudiating all enslavement save to Allah alone, and rejecting all idolatry and false worship, and offensive jihad in the path of Allah Most High. Indeed, the essence of our problem with the West revolves around these principles. Do you see how Al-Qaeda gets it? Thus, when the Prophet wrote to the Christians, calling them to Islam, now they're referring to Muhammad, he sent them the word of Allah Most High, quote, "Say, O people of the book, let us reach an agreement." Nor did he stop there and say, now they're saying he didn't say this. Listen to this. They're saying this is not what Muhammad said. So that we might find shared commonalities, and that's in scare quotes actually, between us regarding justice, freedom, and values, end quote. But he completed the verse by saying, and now they're actually quoting him again, that we will worship none beside Allah, nor assign partners to him, that means take Jesus as God, nor take each other as masters in place of Allah. If they refuse, say, bear witness that we have submitted. And then they quote a Quranic passage 364. Can the writers of the Declaration be frank with the Crusaders with this verse in its entirety, saying that they're not being frank about the entirety of one of the verses they quoted? Now he's going to go on and say, we cannot coexist. Listen to this. The West is hostile to us on account of loyalty and enmity and offensive jihad. So, how can the writers of the Declaration address those infidels who attack our faith by word and deed, by word, with such trivial matters that have nothing to do with the heart of the conflict, to saying the things we agree are trivial? What the West desires is that we abandon the doctrine of loyalty and enmity and abandon offensive jihad. This is the very essence of their request and desire of us. Do the intellectuals then think it's actually possible for Muslims to abandon these two commandments simply to coexist with the West? Saying we're not going to drop the essence of Islam so we can live amongst Westerners. Why would you guys do that? And remember, these are Saudi intellectuals that Al-Qaeda is responding to. Now listen to this example they give from Muhammad. This is amazing. And again, I'm reading from a document authored or authorized by Osama bin Laden himself after 9/11. What did the Prophet, the companions after him, and the righteous forebears do? Did they wage jihad against the infidels, attacking them all over the earth in order to place them under the suzerainty of Islam in great humility and submission? Or did they send messages to discover shared understandings between themselves and the infidels in order that they may reach an understanding whereby universal peace, security, and natural relations would spread in such a satanic manner as this? It's obviously rhetorical. They're saying he did the former. The Sharia provides a true and just path, securing Muslims and providing peace to the world. So you see, they would still say, hey, only through jihad. Do you guys catch that? Now look what he says here. This is on page 33. Muslims, and especially the learned among them, should spread Sharia law to the world. That and nothing else. It's saying no democracy. It's what's that saying. Not laws under the, quote, umbrella of justice, morality, and rights. Hear that? The laws are not supposed to be under the umbrella of justice, morality, and rights. Now, they qualify it, but nonetheless, catch this. Not laws under the umbrella of justice, morality, and rights as understood by the masses. No, the Sharia of Islam is the foundation. And the most important issue in Islam is the Tawheed of Allah. That means the oneness of Allah. So they're saying it's against Trinitarian doctrine. The exalted, the Most High, and whoever openly and clearly repudiates these issues, we consign him to the infidels. Now, I want to stop here. I'm going to keep on reading. But notice how theological this is. Sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, it's financial, or it's really political. Well, it is true that the theology of Islam drives it to political ends. There's not a separation like in the West would be, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, give to God's what is God's. That kind of idea doesn't exist in Islam, really. But nonetheless, you notice here how it's clearly theological. Now, that doesn't mean there's no theological beefs. This is a big book, and yes, there's definitely with the West political beefs. But I'm just trying to do away with the notion that this is some kind of hijacking of Islam and these guys aren't faithful Muslims. Notice that this is intellectually rigorous. It's filled with rhetorical questions designed to get the people to think. They're trying to convince Muslims here of the rightness of their cause. Do you see this? And again, this is by Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden after 9/11. Continuing on. Thus, the defense of Muslims is ensured through jihad, not dialogue and coexistence. So people that think if we just did it different, right, and that's how we'll get along, they're saying no. The way the Muslims are going to be protected is through jihad, not dialogue and coexistence. Catch that. And know that the standard of jihad shall never fail or diminish till the day of judgment. It is our only option for glory, as has been continuously demonstrated in the Islamic texts. And this document is filled with quotations from the Quran and the Hadith. I'm not even reading a lot of them. I'm just giving you a flavor of this. Now I'm on page 34 from the Al-Qaeda Reader. Listen to this. Oh, man, this is wild. What they're going to get at him now is saying, how can you quote things that look to be nice to Christians but not quote all the curses against them in our holy books? Listen to this. How does one go about evoking these insignificant expressions while abandoning dozens of texts, and they're right about that, wherein the Christians are cursed and their blasphemies and treacheries enumerated? Do you hear that? Do you hear that? The good in them has to do with minor particulars, which are definitely not grounds for living with them, nor debating with them, nor dialoguing with them, as they call it. They're saying there's no debate or dialogue here. That's not what's supposed to happen. And then they go back to some of the founders of their understandings, the schools of thought, to prove their point. They're going to go back to Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim. Now, what's up with this is that Muhammad himself said that the first 3 generations of Muslims will be the best. And that's where the concept of Salafi or Salafi Islam comes from, that it follows Muhammad and the first 3 generations of the companions in essence. It's the Sunni sect that bin Laden was part of, and which tries to be very faithful to the text and the Sunnah. That is his example. Now listen to this. They're going to give these examples. When the Sheikh of Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah, debated the Christians in his book, The True Response, or Ibn al-Qayyim in his book, Guiding the Confused, and others among the ulama, they all desired but one thing, to prove to the Christians that they are blasphemers in regards to their prophet, and blasphemies in regard to Muhammad. So saying it's not some fancy dialogue, it's just going to prove them that they're blasphemers. And watch, they're going to get on again for quoting parts of verses. And why mention the verse as evidence of the closeness between Christians and Muslims, but not conclude the verse? Do you hear that? It's saying you're only quoting half a verse. And they're specifically speaking there of 582, and you can look it up. That's specifically what they're talking about. This is shocking in its honesty, isn't it? Likewise, why don't the intellectuals mention the word of the Most High that does apply to the West, whom they address? Now, they're going to say this applies to the West. Infidels are those who say Allah is one of 3, i.e. the Trinity, 573. And the verse, infidels are those who say Allah is the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, 517. Why not mention this word of the Most High? Fight those among the people of the book, Christians and Jews, who do not believe in Allah, nor the last day, or who do not forbid what Allah and His Messenger have forbidden, i.e. embrace Sharia law, and who do not embrace the religion of truth, Islam, until they pay the jizya with willing submissiveness and feel themselves utterly subdued. They're saying, why don't you quote Surah 929? Why not evoke the words of the Prophet, which agree with it? Curse of Allah be upon the Jews and Christians. They took the tombs of the prophets as places of worship. Thus it is final. In fact, Passages such as these and others are abundant, and they're right, they are abundant, and they do not comport with expressions of prostration, defeatism. Remember, they're saying the very idea of coexisting under Western principles is defeatism and prostration. Moderate Islam is a prostration to the West. That's what this essay is entitled. Continuing on here, this is page 38. Now, then, how can you speak about Allah without knowledge? Who told you that transgression against man is impermissible? Let me repeat that. Watch this. They're addressing this to Saudi Muslim intellectuals. Now then, how can you speak about Allah without knowledge? They're saying you're ignorant of Islam. Who told you that transgression against man is impermissible if he is an infidel? Do you hear that? They're saying transgression against man is permissible if he's an infidel. What about offensive jihad? Allah exalted the Most High said, fight them, Allah will torment them with your hands, 9:14. And he said, then when the sacred months have passed, slay the idolaters wherever you find them, seize them, besiege them, and make ready to ambush them. But if they repent afterward and perform the prayer and pay the alms, submit to Islam, then release them, for Allah is truly forgiving, merciful, 9:5. Do you hear this? Do you hear this? Indeed, these expressions of yours are built upon the principle of equality, as found in the Charters of the United Nations, which do not distinguish among people either by way of religion or race or nor sex. Islam improves. It is not improved. Do you hear that? They're saying these UN principles or charters are trying to improve upon Islam. Islam is what improves things. You can't improve Islam. This goes against this idea. People talk about, oh, there's going to be a reformation in Islam. Catch that? Page 39. So where's the rest of this verse? So again, they're talking about another verse. It's Surah 2, ayah 221, I believe. So where's the rest of this verse, which will clarify the way Allah Most High has honored all of mankind as found in this verse? So they're cross-referencing 1770 with 2:21 to say, here's the way to understand this verse properly. And they're actually going to quote Ibn Kathir again. Very important commentator. Watch this. So where's the rest of this verse, which will clarify the way Allah Most High has honored all of mankind as found in this verse? We have honored the children of Adam and carried them on land and sea, provided them with good things, and preferred them greatly over those we have created, 1770. Now they're going to define it lexically. The meaning of preferred per this verse, then, is that mankind is a more excellent creation, provided with ease of movement through land and sea and provision of good things, just as Ibn Kathir said in his commentary on this verse. So why present this verse without clarification, describing infidels as being intrinsically sacred, saying you're making it sound like infidels are intrinsically sacred, but they're not. It's supposed to be basically just saying that humans are better than animals, but infidels are not on equal grounds with Muslims. Do you catch this? Forget about Imago Dei, equal rights, forget about all that, right? Now listen to this, because they're understanding that the West will misunderstand what's being said, and they want it to be clear to the West what's being said. Now, when they say the West, it's kind of troubling, because they're just combining the secular part of the West and the Christian part of the West as one big lump. But technically, I live in the West, but the current state of the West I do not identify with at all. But this is the way they see the world, right? The West understands sacred as meaning respect and the preservation of man-made rights. I don't think that's exactly right, but nonetheless I understand what they're saying, because man-made rights, well, the secular part of the West would actually. So mankind's superiority vis-a-vis creation, as found in this verse, is portrayed by them as evidence that it is imperative to hold sacred the Western infidel and preserve his man-made rights. But whenever the human race is tied up with infidelity, legally per the Sharia and logically, one should evoke only those verses that apply to such that are addressed to the West, who are in fact described by Allah as being like unto cows, except even more astray. Do you hear this? They're saying you forfeit your rights when you're not a Muslim. And the real way, the context to address the West accurately to these Saudi intellectuals is not by saying they're sacred intrinsically, but by saying they're as dumb as cows, except they're even more astray than them. Are you understanding this? And notice again, they're arguing logically, historically, and the vocabulary on this is not some children thing. It follows a progression. I want you to understand that behind Al-Qaeda and all the wicked things that they've done, now we kind of replaced in a way by ISIS. These groups like that, there's always intellectual foundations. There's an ideology of something going on behind it. Not just psychotic people. They're simply walking out the logical implications of their presuppositions, their worldview. Let me quote this now. He said, quote, and we have created for Hell, multitudes of jinn and men. They have hearts, but do not comprehend. They have eyes, but do not see. They have ears, but do not hear. They are like cows. Nay, they are even more misguided. Such are the heedless ones. 779. And then he quotes another Quranic passage, 25:54, and then another one right after it, 573, and then another one right after it, 517. Now I'm on page 40 still. But once again, why do the intellectuals take the first part of the verse while neglecting to mention its end? Now they're going to say, I'm going to quote the rest of this verse that's quoted in this declaration, which is, quote, there is no compulsion in religion. Now this is very important, everyone. Let me just stop. Listen. This is a verse you're always going to hear. There's no compulsion in religion, right? All the time. They're saying, watch what they say about that. And remember it next time you see it on CNN, right? Watch this. True guidance is now distinct from error. He that renounces idolatry or Satan and believes in Allah shall grasp a firm handle that will never break. Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. 256, that's the verse. Why not clarify what renounces idolatry or Satan means to the West? Therefore, just as our religion contains no coercion, so too does it stress renouncing idolatry and faith in Allah and the manner of Abraham, peace be upon him. Thus, what they make the first part of the verse say does not agree with its conclusion. They're saying by only quoting part of the verse and the way they're interpreting it to the West actually makes the verse disagree with itself. Now watch this. They're going to go deeper on this about what this verse means and doesn't mean. Furthermore, so this is additional evidence. A number of exegetes, and remember the verse under question is there is no compulsion of religion. A number of exegetes, including Ibn Kathir, have said that this verse has been abrogated by the word of Allah Most High. Abrogated means canceled out, means no longer relevant, null and void. Listen to this quote. So they're going to quote another later surah that they're saying abrogates that most likely. You, desert dwellers, shall be called upon to battle a mighty nation unless they embrace Islam. That's 48:16. And the verse, so they're saying another verse abrogates it. O you who believe, fight the infidels who dwell around you, and let them see how ruthless you can be. Know that Allah is with the righteous. 9:123, which is the verse of the sword, which is which is probably one of the last surahs revealed to Muhammad under an Islamic understanding. I don't think it was revealed, obviously, by Gabriel or any other good divine being. And the verse, O prophet, wage war against the infidels and hypocrites and be ruthless, their abode is hell and evil fate. 9:73. Thus the matter of abrogation is conveyed by those who think that the ban has to do with forcefully placing them under the authority of the religion. But those who believe that the ban revolves around the beliefs of the heart find no contradiction between the verses. This is amazing when you understand what's being said here. And we're not going to read the whole chapter, okay? But I do want to read more of this. This is very important to understand as we look back 17 years later, okay? Page 42. Listen to this. Everyone stop what you're doing. Listen to this. We got 54 people watching. Share this link. Hit like. Listen to this. This is important information. You're not going to... Unless you get this book and read it, I'm kind of trying to make your job easy, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm reading long sections to you that are extremely significant, but I recommend getting the book as well. This is a translation from documents authored or authorized by Osama bin Laden of Al-Qaeda in response to Saudi intellectuals who are saying we can coexist, and they are saying Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, the mastermind, the planners, the plotters of 9/11, saying we cannot coexist because our religion doesn't allow it. Now listen to page 42. Listen to this long quote. Does Islam, or does it not, force people by the power of the sword to submit to its authority, corporally, if not spiritually? So the question is, they're saying, does Islam, yes or no, force people by the power of sword to submit bodily and spiritually if we can? That's the question. Now, how do they answer it? Right after, I like the clarity of this. Yes. They're just trying to call in. Just give me 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes or so. All right, let me read this. There are only 3 choices in Islam: either willing submission or payment of the jizya through physical, though not spiritual, submission to the authority of Islam or the sword, for it is not right to let him, an infidel, live. The matter is summed up for every person alive. Either submit or live under the suzerainty of Islam or die. Suzerainty means as a second-class citizen. And it behooves the signatories, the people that signed this declaration they're responding to clarify this matter to the West. Otherwise, they will be like those who believe in part of the book while rejecting the rest. They're saying they're picking and choosing what they want to believe out of the Quran. But instead, they concoct something that has no connection to the struggle, dressing it up and presenting it as Islam. So just like the moderates accuse these guys of not being real Muslims, they're saying they're not real Muslims. Yet the verse does not support what they wish and mean regarding this matter. Now listen to this little line, page 43. Battle, animosity, and hatred directed from the Muslim to the infidel is the foundation of our religion, and we consider this a justice and kindness to them. That's the quote of the day right there. Battle, animosity, and hatred directed from the Muslim to the infidel is the foundation of our religion, and we consider this a justice and kindness to them. You have the whole twisted perversion understanding of Salafi Islam right there in a nutshell. Continue on page 47. Really, this declaration failed the expectation of many, particularly the pious. And even though it failed expectations and perturbs the soul, still what's more painful than its publication is that such mockery, deception, and prostration is published in the name of all Muslims, especially those in the land of the two holy sites, Saudi Arabia. The signatories have absolutely no right to talk in the name of the Muslims living in the land of the two holy sites as they portray in their declaration. And the greatest calumny is that these signatories do not know the foundation of the creed of the forefathers. Instead, they were trained in general matters, and their degrees are in the natural sciences, which do not justify them to speak on matters related to Sharia law and on behalf of the Ummah in its entirety. They're saying these guys have no right to speak on Muslims' behalf, and their specialties, these intellectuals, is in science and stuff, not in true Islamic understanding. So what are they doing? Listen to this. Moreover, the signatories confirm by lying. They're saying they're lying about this. Listen to this. That many in the Islamic world did not welcome the attack of September 11th. They're saying that's a lie. They're saying that people did welcome it. This is the furthest thing from the truth. Indeed, happiness of joy have not entered many a Muslim home in decades as it did after what befell the Crusaders. Thanks to this blessed strikes, and we implore Allah for more like them. And if the media only focus on a mere slice of the Muslim populace exhibiting their disapproval over 9/11, well, the media is in the habit of showing what the secular Muslim governments wish, who themselves are the ones who were grieved over what befell their masters. They're throwing shade. Let me continue down here. Again, persisting to abolish the differences between Muslims and non-Muslims? Why don't these signatories permit themselves to read both ancient and modern history? Listen to this. When the king of Copts, that's Egyptian Christians, tried... Listen, this is wild. When the king of the Copts of Egypt tried improving relations with the prophet by dignifying his messenger and sending him back on a beast of burden laden with clothing, so they tried to bring gifts to Muhammad, and a slave girl, one of Muhammad's future wives, Maryam, did such niceties prevent the companions from raiding the Coptic realms, forcefully placing them under Islamic rule? They're saying no. So why don't you do some history? It doesn't matter if they're nice or whatever they do. You place them under Islamic rule forcefully. They're speaking about history and what the companions of Muhammad did. Here I am on page 51. Thus they make claims and speak about Allah without understanding. They say that our Sharia does not impose our particular belief upon others. This is a false assertion, for it is in fact part of our religion to impose our particular beliefs upon others. Whoever doubts this, let him turn to the deeds of the companions when they raided the lands of the Christians and Omar imposed upon them the conditions of dimitude. These conditions involve clothing attire, specific situations, and class distinctions known to ulema as the Pact of Omar, and they are notoriously famous. Let the signatories review them so they know that we are to force people by the power of the sword to our particular understandings, customs, and conditions, all in order to induce debasement and humility, just like Allah commanded when he said, until they pay the jizya by hand in complete submission and humility. 9:29. Now, there's a lot more here, many more chapters. There's a lot more that I could read, but what I'm going to do right now instead is bring up Nadir Ahmed. All right, Nadir, if you could please turn down the volume on your computer so I'm not heard, and I'm going to bring you up in a second. Right now they're not able to see you, but in a second they are. I just need to adjust a couple things here, Nadir, and I'm going to bring you on with me. Okay, let's see here. But let's see. Okay, what's going on? Oh, I know what the problem is. Hold on, just give me a second here. All right, Nadir, welcome to Backpack Radio Live, man. You and I have been talking for a while, and we did a debate many years ago, but it's been a while. But how you doing? Thanks for coming on the show today, man. Let's see if I can hear you, bro.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah. I don't know if you can do anything to be a little bit louder, but I'm going to turn you up here. Well, actually, you're all the way up. Audience, can you guys tell me how we both sound? Because audience, I don't have the same sound that you do. And audience, will you guys let me know if he's about equal with me? I'm going to make sure that both of us are able to be heard. Audience, please let me know. I'm looking at the comments right now to make sure. All right, so how you doing, Nadir? Tell us what you've been up to since last time we talked, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, well, we talked over the phone, but I think we had a debate almost 7 years ago. So I've pretty much been doing the same, just working. I took a little hiatus for about 6 years.
Oh, for
now
real?
I'm back.
So what about I went on your website today because I was trying to look for your book. You have your book, Thank God for Jihad, but I couldn't find your book online. How does a person?
No, I never got around to finishing it just because See, this is kind of like a side hobby. This is not like my career. I'm doing something else. So I never got around to finishing it. But yeah, if you study jihad, you look at the Quran. Everybody should thank God for jihad because it made the world a better place. It brought religious freedom to Jews and Christians, and not only that, but it saved the Jews from the genocide of Christianity. And that was a winning argument in the Sam Shimon debate, David Wood debate, and Robert Spencer debate. In fact, Robert Spencer actually had to run away from that argument.
Yeah, I heard those debates that you're mentioning. Of course, Nadir, I've always liked talking to you, but of course I would offer an extremely different assessment than that. But nonetheless, I appreciate your perspective. Now, you say that jihad was a good thing and everybody should thank God for it. Do you consider what happened on 9/11 17 years ago part of the jihad that people should be thankful for, or is that something different?
No, so that's what we call imitation of the kuffar. So
Okay.
terrorism and genocide, these things, this is intrinsic within the Christian tradition, and this is what we've seen all throughout history. They're doing something called imitating the non-believers. But as we've seen in so many debates on is a religion of peace, which is by Sam Shimon, I think did with David Wood and Robert Spencer, you know what we're going to find? Well, what we don't find, I'm sorry, we never find them raising the argument that Islam teaches to kill non-believers like what we saw on 9/11 and killing innocent civilians. So this is something I want to bring up with the Christians. We've seen the debates. Islam has won the debate on is Islam a religion of peace, and now I look towards the honest Christians to do the right thing and drop this nonsense about the Quran being the motivation factor of 9/11.
Okay. Again, appreciate your perspective. What do you think of this type of argumentation? It is true that Islam would prescribe death to those who would make mischief in the Muslim lands. And if foreign armies are in any way, or foreign operatives are in any way making mischief as defined in Muslim lands, they're sent there by someone in the sense of financially backed. Who backs them financially? So, example, if we speak about America, well, ultimately, it's the people who pay the taxes. And so just like Islam has taught that if you equip a soldier, you'll receive part of their reward if he's fighting in a just jihad, the inverse principle applies that if you are equipping an infidel to do mischief in the land, you are also partially guilty. And since you're a taxpayer, and furthermore, since the West is sent them over there to make mischief in the foreign lands. So under that reasoning, isn't it safe to say that all Americans are actually part or should be targets in an offensive jihad? If not, tell me why that reasoning is incorrect.
Well, first of all, that was Bin Laden's logic, I think, what he tried to justify it.
You're correct. But why do you disagree
so
with it? But why do you why is it silly though?
Oh, okay. Well, see, now this is kind of his heinous acts. He couldn't go to the Quran. He couldn't go to the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad. Why didn't he say, look, the Quran teaches that non-believers should, all innocent civilians, because Allah said that in the Quran. No, he did this weird twisting of logic. All right, well, you guys pay taxes, right? Yeah. Okay, aren't you funding all the killing in this land? Okay, well, there you go. So this is a further evidence. Please, again, I follow the argument. The debate is over, Malone. If you look, like, for example, I'm just going to give you a debate between me and Sam Shimon on is Islam a religion of peace.
Yeah.
It's almost 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, in that discussion, never once was he able to raise argument that Islam kills innocent civilians, and he remained silent on that. Debate's over, dude.
Well, I mean, maybe you're referring to the debate with you and Sam. Of course, this, we're not debating. We don't have like some set, schedule and all that type of stuff that you would have in a traditional debate. People were saying it's buffering, so I'm going to shut some things down on my computer
Sure.
here. I'm worried. I don't know if that's the reason why. I'm going to try to do everything I can to prevent any buffering. Guys, I've shut down everything that I don't need. I don't even know what else I could shut down. Let me know about the buffering, because I want you to be able to be heard, and they're saying there's buffering issues. So hopefully we'll get rid of it. I shut down everything I do not need on this computer, so hopefully that will work. Okay, well, let me ask you about this then. The biographies of Muhammad, they relay a story when he besieged the inhabitants of Taif. This is around 630, and he fired at them over the wall with catapults. And he had a ban, it was thought, upon killing women and children. But he also knew that women and children would be struck, because there's no way that a catapult is going to differentiate who is who. Now, Al-Qaeda, and I'm not saying you would agree with this, but I'm just saying, tell me why they're wrong here. Here's what they say. This demonstrates that if Muslims are intermingled with the people of war, it is still permissible to fire at them as long as the intended targets are the idolaters. Al-Sa'id bin Jad said, the Prophet was asked about whether it was permissible to attack the idolaters in the dark, even if this led to their women and children being struck. He, Muhammad, replied, they are from among them. So, do you disagree with the logic there? Because they're using the Sunnah to justify it. Now, you said they couldn't go to the Quran, but most of the things Muslims do aren't from the Quran. Like, for example, the 5 times a day prayer. Of course, that's not in the Quran. So, do you disagree that they have the Sunnah of Muhammad incorrect?
Well, first of all, they are from amongst them is something which is open for interpretation, and many people have talked about what could this mean, meaning could the women and children who are died, they will be in heaven, they are from amongst them, meaning that they were the ones who were fighting alongside of the combatants. We don't know. This is a vague and ambiguous narration, and this is what we find with a lot of the charlatans. They will take something which is vague and ambiguous and spin their own interpretation on that. But that's not bin Laden's reasoning. In fact, I would say 99% of all people who are terrorists don't even know that hadith even exists.
Well,
you could even go
But I hear what you're saying, but I'm reading a document from Ayman al-Zawahiri. I always mispronounce his last name, Zawahiri. But he was bin Laden's number 2. So I hear you're saying they don't know it, but he's quoting it there. The last part of what I read was I was quoting him.
Okay, look at all the terrorist attacks which have taken place in, let's just say America or Europe. They're not reading what you're reading. 99%, and again, this is probably more than that, of all terrorist attacks, it's always based on something like, okay, well, this is revenge for what you did in, I don't know, Israel, support for Israel, or this is revenge because you are occupying our lands, or something like that.
Yeah, making mischief in the land, though, which is. Do you agree that? Do you believe this?
Just happened to that hadith.
Okay, but do you believe this, that you should be punishable by death under Sharia for making mischief in the land? Do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, let me just go back to the original point, then I'll answer that.
Okay.
So what we see here is not a single soul, at least which I know of, has ever died because of that hadith, which you quoted, because it's not clear. If there is somebody, and I've closely watched the motives behind terrorist attacks, and almost all the time it's because I want to make you feel the pain for the suffering people of Syria or something like that. So if you can find someone that actually motivated someone, I would like it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, if I may, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you see my desktop?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So let's go to Surah 4, verse 91. And that's why,
Hey, one thing real quick, Nadir. Try to look at the YouTube channel or the video, because but not the entire thing. Here, let me temporarily put it on just you, okay? Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. You got it.
Okay. So you will find others who wish to obtain security from you and to obtain security from their people. Every time they return to influence of disbelief, they fall back into it. Now, here's how an innocent civilian is defined. So, if they withdraw not from you, so meaning they're posed to attack you, or offer you peace, or restrain their hands, then seize them and kill them wherever you take a hold of them. So this is how the Muslim is supposed to basically do this 491 spot check on the battlefield if they withdraw not from you, or if they're not offering you peace or restraining their hand, then you can kill them. So it says, and we have made for you against them a clear authorization. So Ayman al-Zawahiri can kiss my brown butt, with all due respect. The definition of who is an innocent civilian is defined over here, and that's why. There's actually, I want to point out, let me go here real quick. Let's go to Google. This will be my last point. This is why your guy, Sam Shimon, ran away in the middle of a debate. It's only 17 minutes. Go ahead and click on that if you get a chance. Look at that. And that's because they are not able to defend what they believe, that in the middle of a debate they would run away. How ridiculous. So, after this, you hear this, please listen to this. Sam Shimon runs away in the middle of a debate. So anyways, go ahead. The mic is yours.
I appreciate that. Well, I'm going to switch it back over. I'm just letting people see what you had up there for a second. But, you guys had agreed upon a certain topic, and then I think they felt like you were trying to switch the topic. To be fair, I mean, I've seen Sam debate the best of the best. I don't really think he's, well, to be honest, afraid of anyone. Nothing personal against you. I don't find that he runs from debates or anything like that. So I don't think I don't know if people would agree with that characterization. I guess perhaps you see it that way. But quick shout out to the super chat, Gwendolyn Fizzleout and Apple Goo. So I'm trying to, man, we had a couple more buffering issues.
Well, actually, you're talking, I don't think you've seen the video clip, which I have. It's only 17 minutes. He was getting cornered, and he was about to get shut down, and he ran away in the middle of a debate. So I would just type Sam Shimon runs away in the middle of a debate and watch a 17-minute clip. He was cursing, saying all kinds of bad words. Let's have a talk. Like, me and you, we're cool, vocab. We can sit and talk. Why can't he talk with me? Forget about debates. He can't even talk with me because he knew he lost those debates, and the arguments we have, he cannot refute. Look,
well,
just a nice conversation.
Yeah.
And you will never do that.
Just so you know, and again, it's not, but when I talked to Robert and David and Sam, about interactions with you, they felt they were sort of done with the whole affair, and they still debating. They're still debating lots of, and they're running from me. They just felt like that they felt like it was a certain level of dishonesty, and so I think that's why. So I don't know. Maybe if you did less of that, they might be more willing. It's just a thought. But nonetheless, here you and I are, and here we are, and I'm glad we can talk. And I think that's good.
Yeah, those are likely excuses. But look, we don't have to debate. We can have a nice conversation, just like a Starbucks coffee type conversation. I don't think they're ever going to do that, and just because of the weakness of their argument. Well, you can look at the debates on Islam and 9/11 and terrorism. Just here, do this. Go to Fox News. Today is September 11th. Which intelligent Christian conservatives are arguing the Quran did this to us on September 11th? Because remember, September 12th, they were all. Where's all that discussion now? It simply is not there. Look at people like Donald Trump. He's looked at this issue. You'll never hear him accuse Islam of being the source for September 11th. So this is what I'm talking about. We're seeing the repercussions of the 11th. So Allahu Akbar, the great victory for us. And just today is September 11th. Yeah. Go to Pat Robertson's website. Where is anyone saying that anymore? No one's saying it.
Well, so, you said that a lot of the terrorists, they don't read some of the sources I'm reading, but, I'm reading from an Al-Qaeda document, and this one is titled Jihad, Martyrdom, and the Killing of Innocents. And tell me your reaction to what they say here. So I'm not assuming you agree with this. I'm assuming you would say you'd said, it was asked, how is it possible to bombard a group of idolaters with catapults and fire, if among them are women and children who are forbidden from being killed? It was replied, the Prophet launched a raid against the tribe of Al-Mustalaq, and they fought back. So he commanded to set fire to their fortifications. all night long with the widespread knowledge that women and children were in there. This was because it was an idolatrous camp not exempt from raiding. Instead, it was the intentional killing of children and women that was prohibited, whom the prophet preferred to trade and treat as property. Catapult and fire fortifications that including women and children. And so Al-Qaeda used that as justification. And here's one other quote I think you might find fascinating. Ibn Taymiyyah said, listen to this. Well, this is very interesting.
This is the first one?
Yeah, just the last. This one's a lot shorter. Ibn Taymiyyah said, based on the consensus of the ulama, those Muslims who are accidentally killed are martyrs, and the obligatory jihad should never be abandoned because it creates martyrs. But go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah, go back to the.
Going back. Hold on, who's criminal? Wait, you're saying who's criminals?
The terrorists, like the Bin Ladens and all Al Qaeda type people. Those people are criminals.
Why do you say Bin Laden's a criminal though? What did he do that was criminal?
Well, he's dead.
I'm saying when he was alive, why would you say he's a criminal? What law would he have broken that would be Islamic? What's the Sharia law that he broke?
Yeah. Well, so there's a good debate on the internet by the scholar Sheikh Nasruddin Albani and with a jihadi terrorist. Just type Albani debate with a jihadi, Albani. The first blunder which he made, as Albani pointed out to him, no clown running around in his turban has a right to declare war on anybody. It's like you declaring war on Canada because you had a beef with them. We as individual citizens, Joe Sixpack, we don't have that right to declare war. So
hold on. There's no, I know what you're saying, but of course there's no Islamic Joe Sixpacks because alcohol's haram, but yeah, I get it.
Well, that's true. So that was his first blunder. The second blunder is the whole narration which you are quoting, which everybody has to face. The Americans have faced that, the British have to face that, and they have to come up with their own reasoning on how to handle that. But September 11th had nothing to do with that. They're just people going to work. They're just people who are just hanging out, doing nothing, or work, or whatever. There are no combatants. So there's no way you can take that hadith and apply it to what's going on, people hanging out in New York City. But the important point is, going back to the Battle of Prophet Muhammad, even in the raid of Taif, there were no innocent civilians killed. So once again,
could you explain that a little bit? You're saying in the raid at Taif, in which catapults were employed, no
innocent civilians were killed.
Help me understand that. What do you mean by that, Nadir? Read that they were intermixed. So wouldn't they have been...
that doesn't tell us anything about who those women and children were. They could have been participating in the battles, like, for example, Hind. She was a famous woman warrior who fought against the Muslims. A kid with a poison arc arrow is just as dangerous as an adult with a sword. So we don't even have any information on who these, quote, women and kids were. And are we talking about 13, 14? We don't know. That's the whole thing. This is some vague and ambiguous reference which people will try to hoodwinkle others with. But we go back to the Quran. The 491 spot check.
Before you came on, it wasn't buffering. It's like, I don't know why the internet can't handle it here. I got good internet here. I think people were able to make out a lot of what you're saying, but they're saying, I'm looking at the comments and they're saying, vocab, can you fix the buffering? So I'm trying, but I think they can hear a lot of what you're saying. Okay, so that's your perspective. So you would say there is a such thing as offensive and defensive jihad, or do you...
as well. And in fact, one of I think one of the greatest evidences, which I find why Islam is a peaceful religion and why I believe it, is because the good which offensive jihad did. As I nailed, in fact, here, let me show you, give you an exact reference, showing you how offensive jihad, Surah 9, verse 29, and fight those who believe not in Allah in the last day, let me show you why I say this is a peaceful verse, if I may. Because this is actually an offensive jihad verse. Let me just minimize this here real quick.
And how would you define offensive jihad, by the way? Do you have a ready definition for offensive jihad?
Yeah, I would say that you take the initiative to attack them for some reason. So can you see my desktop and what I just typed in there?
Yeah, Heraclius.
Yeah, Heraclius. So and I want everyone to just kind of hit pause on this YouTube video and just type this just so you can read along with me and see what the Jewish historians have to say about this offensive jihad. So you spell it Heraclius and just type Jewish Virtual Library, all one word. Now, look what it said there. So basically what happened here, the Christians declared that the Jews must be murdered and killed, and they declared almost like a little Holocaust against them. But look what the historian said. What saved the Jews? Why are there Jews here today? It said it looked like the end of Judaism in Judea. However, things are going on in the Arabian desert, which within... Oh, this is blocked. Hold on one second. Which is within...
Is this
years.
where you say that the Muslims of the day rescued the
Let me
Jews?
just, and I'll explain my point. Which within 7 years would change the picture of the Near East and of the whole world. So what was going on in the Arabian desert, vocab? I think it's Surah 9, verse 29, and the offensive jihad verses. Now, if you go back to the debate, which I had with Robert Spencer, he said, well, Nadir called out people and say, this is like, go to the one, actually, hold on, let me go to you. Type this in YouTube and you'll see our 30-minute debate on the topic. And if you looked at it, he ran away from that, and I confronted him. I said, this is what Surah 9, verse 29 did. It saved the Jews from the genocide of Christianity. And it's all on video, and you will see. This is the one I'm talking about right here. He literally ran away from that.
Jihad saved the Jews from the genocide of Christianity.
Yep.
I think that's the quote of the day there, Nadir.
Allahu Akbar.
Okay.
This is not. Look, you can read the historian for yourself. There is nothing else which saved the Jews from the order for them to be murdered except the jihadic verses of the Quran. And this is what the Quran stated, why there is jihad. Why this is found inside Surah number 22, verse 40. And if you look at Robert Spencer, in the end, he agreed. He said, yes, jihad came to save the Jews, or to save and protect the Jews and the Christians. That's in that debate. That quote is there. But let's just very quickly look at the verse which defeated
the Ottoman Empire against the Armenians and the Greeks and the Assyrians, the Christians living in the lands there of Turkey. Do you think that saved them as well, or is that something different there that happened in 1915?
Yeah, so if you look at the history of Islam and Christianity, you're going to see the like. Like, for example, the Haitian revolutions. The Christians engaged in mass slaughter of the Haitian population.
Yeah. So in Turkey, what do you think? Do you think that was jihad, or was that justified? No. I read earlier, Nadir, this passage from the Al Qaeda documents. This one passage. Listen to this. Again, persisting to abolish the differences between Muslims and non-Muslims. Why don't these signatories permit themselves to read both ancient and modern history? When the king of the Copts of Egypt tried improving relations with the prophet by dignifying his messenger and sending him back on a beast of burden laden with clothing, and a slave girl, one of Muhammad's future wives, Maryam, did such niceties prevent the companions from raiding the Coptic realms, forcefully placing them under Islamic rule? So they're actually appealing to history, what the companions themselves did, where you had the Egyptians, who were Christian at that time. The Copts try to improve relations with Muhammad by giving him gifts, including one of his. They would disagree with your assessment there. Do you not think that hadith is authentic?
Well, let's just take a step back and let's see what's happening here, because you're proving my point. You see, you are reading from some Al Qaeda document. Okay, I'm quoting you the Quran. Why can't you have a Quran in your hands? And the reason, because the ridiculous, wacky, quacky interpretations of Al Qaeda, or the things they believe in, you can't find in the Quran. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. There is a debate victory on is Islam a religion of peace. The fact that you don't have a Quran in your hand, vocab, is proof of that. But look, you were not able to answer this question. That things were going on, in the Arabian desert, which is within 7 years would have changed the history. Or I can't read the whole. It's kind of blocked here. Then what saved the Jews, vocab? What did it?
Oh,
if you're criticizing the jihadic verses, what saved the Jews here?
Yeah, I think Nadir, the notion that jihad saved Jews is probably one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my life. I mean, the Beni Karzai Jews and the other 5 tribes, I heard in one of your debates, you said, oh, Muhammad only had problems with like 5 or 6 of the Jewish tribes. Well, one of them was the Beni Karzai, where he lopped off their heads. I mean, did he save those Jews?
Okay, we can talk about that, but that's your. See, the problem is
the point. What I'm saying is the whole notion of jihad saving Jews is crazy. I mean, did Muhammad say yes or no that Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures? Did he say that?
No, that's in Surah 96. But can I please?
But
hold on.
The point is to show you the idea that jihad saves Jews is one of the craziest notions I've probably ever heard, Nadir, to be frank with you.
Okay. Can I respond now?
Oh,
okay, I will respond to that big bundle of arguments you've basically leveled, but let's see what's happening here, Vocab. The thing is, I see you in denial. You have been brainwashed into believing that Islam is all about terror, so no matter what facts are put in front of you, you're not going to accept it. Like, I'm quoting you the Jewish Virtual Library. This is not a Muslim, this is a historian who's saying that jihad, he's saying that things were going on in the Arabian desert, which within 7 years would have changed all this. But see, the problem is, when you see that, you think, well, what about the Banu Qurayza? What about Jews being the worst creatures in the world? What about this and what about that? So the problem is, I need to bring you back to the fact, the historical, the arguments which showing you how jihad came to protect the Jews and the Christians, because that's what the Quran says. Chapter 22, verse 40. Forget about the Al-Qaeda manual. Read the Quran in which the name of Allah is mentioned. So God is saying...
So, again, when you go to Islamic practice, is the point of jihad to save people? Because the actual sources say different, and you keep on saying you're bringing up the Quran, but actually half the time you're spending on some Jewish website. But Surah 929 says, fight those who believe not in God in the last day. So why do you fight them? They have different beliefs than you, and who do not forbid what God and his messenger have forbidden, and who follow not the religion of truth. So if you notice, the 3 reasons given to fight them are because of what they believe, who were given the book. So that's specific. People of the book, we know who that is, Jews and Christians. Till they pay the jizya. So you fight them, and then there's a part where you stop fighting them. When do you stop fighting these people? Once they pay the jizya, with the willing hand, being humbled. Other places say something about being humiliated or being felt in submission. And then verse 30 continues on. It says, because of what they believe, because of who they say the Son of Allah is, God cursed them. They're perverted. Now, here's the thing.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, Nadir.
Okay. Well, let me respond to Surah 29. And, I've already addressed this inside the debates I had. Surah 9, verse 29 tells you who to fight, but it doesn't tell you why you should fight them. Though you misquoted the verse, it didn't say because they believe in these wrong doctrines. That's not what the Quran says. The reasons why it called for an offensive war is because of what we see in Surah 22, verse 40. That had it not been that Allah checks the people, some by means of the others, they would have demolished monasteries, churches. Who's demolishing the synagogues? The born-again Christians were. Who are demolishing the churches? Other Christians
hold on, Nadir. You're saying that? Are you saying that synagogues are protected under Sharia law?
I'm quoting you the Quran. Absolutely.
Nadir,
okay,
are there any synagogues in Saudi Arabia?
In Saudi Arabia, no, but there are inside Morocco.
Why not?
In Morocco, there are.
Are there currently any synagogues in Afghanistan?
I don't know about Afghanistan, but I know my wife is actually from Morocco, and there's a huge Jewish population over there. But
yeah. Well, now you go to northern.
Reason for 929. Let's not run away from 929.
No one's running around. What I'm doing is we're gonna end this part. Remember, I said we'd take about 20 or maybe 30 minutes for this part. What I'm doing is, because you're saying that synagogues and churches are protected, but it's just while you're mentioning that, I'm just showing you that that's not the case. Because when you have something like the Pact of Omar, which is trying to make Nadir, go ahead.
Okay. So we have to also go back to the 491 spot check, because even though war was waged, because there is something intrinsic within the Christian religion, and we can agree to disagree on this, but when it comes to Christianity, I think the best source on this is Holocaust survivors. And let's see what Holocaust survivors have to say, and it's going to explain why there is jihad against the people of the book. And I just want to, as you can see from my from my desktop here, Yad Vashem. Who do they blame for the Holocaust? And this is a Holocaust Memorial Center, and listen what they quoted on their website. There can be no doubt about it.
Wait. Now we're going to the Holocaust?
So we can explain 929, the justification for it.
Wait. You know that if we're going to talk about the Holocaust, did you know all the pictures of Hitler with Muslim leaders?
This is and there's others. There's the Simon Wiesenthal Center.
Nadir,
let them be the judge. Why are you speaking on their behalf?
Nadir. You said you were going to answer things related to 929 and discuss, and you're going to the Holocaust. So we're way
let me get back to 929. Let me jump back to 929.
But I need you to.
Something intrinsic within the Christian religion, which Holocaust survivors and the Holocaust memorial people and people who study the Holocaust will agree, that brings the murder of Jews, Muslims, and Africans, as we have seen all throughout their history.
Wait, Nadir. Listen.
Fight against Nazi Christianity.
Nadir.
Hallelujah. Thank the good Lord. So the question is just showing us that there is an offensive verse doesn't prove anything.
All right. Hey, thank you very much, Nadir. I hope we could try to do this. We'll talk again. No doubt. All right, guys. I know some of you were making a lot of questions. I think it's going to stop buffering. I know it was buffering when Nadir was on. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I just upped my internet, so I don't know why that happened. Lily R. with the super chat. Nadir wants you to stick to the Quran. Why aren't you sticking to the Quran himself? He seems to be going all over the place. Yeah. So some of you were saying, hey, I need vocatically not, but there is an apologetic method where one tries to avoid much of the ahadith. So Abu is saying the apologetic method Nadir is employing there was to avoid as much of the hadith as he could. Roxb is saying that we've got 47 super chat total. Is that really accurate? Double check that. If it is, that means I'm only $4 away from having to freestyle today. All right, so Gregorian says, please don't talk with Nadir again. He's actually delusional. Well, the thing is, I personally like Nadir at this point. I know a lot of apologists say don't deal with him and stuff, but I've never had a negative experience. I know, he makes some of these outlandish statements and things like that, but I don't know. I like talking to him, and he's willing to do it. A lot of guys aren't willing to do it, so maybe we get some other good guys on. You're saying it's still buffering. No, my modem isn't far away. I'll make some adjustments before the next show, guys, but I'm so sorry about the buffering. I don't know what's going on here. Jocelyn Steck, yeah, you say I lived in the United Arab Emirates for 4 years, and to be fair to them, there are myriad churches throughout the various Emirates. Yeah, the UAE has a very weak application of Sharia. It's like this hybrid. In fact, the UAE is one of the states that more faithful Muslims basically hate on for not really employing the rules and laws that they should. So that may be the case, that in the UAE there was lots of churches. Now, don't forget, of course, Jocelyn, don't forget about that. Less buffering, we're saying. I don't know. Use a different system altogether. I have one other thing I can try, guys, before the next show, but I can't do it in the middle of the show where the broadcast would end. I'm sorry that the video is choppy, man. All right, I'm looking here at the comments, guys. Looking here, wanted buffering when Nadir is talking. Again, Lily R. Or the greatest. You want to ask a question? Sure, give it a shot. You can ask a question. Nadir, you could be in the chat too if you wanted to join us in the chat. I just only want to do part of the show where we had that discussion. We got about 15 minutes left in the show, and okay, let's see. Abu says, there are some Salafis who use Dubai as a kind of slur, sounding alarm bells, claiming Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman wants to make Saudi like Dubai. saying that it's essentially some kind of, hedonistic paradise place, and that even though there's Muslims there and stuff, that it basically doesn't count. Basically, the more Sharia is employed, the less freedom other folks have, right? All right, who else do we got? I'm looking here at the comments. Thomas Comerford, I hear your comments. Please try to stay in comment. We're not debating Calvinism and Arminian here. Chill out, please. I'm just looking at the comments here, guys. But well, guys, if you have, the thing is, I'll talk to Muslim apologists, but part of the problem is that I'm not in full debate mode right now. I'm trying to make videos and do other things, and so that's why I wanted to have. Gregorian says, why did you pick Nadir for this show vocab? Well, he just contacted me last night, and I was already going to do a show on 9/11. I decided to kind of include him into it, just add him in. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't necessarily pick him. He just contacted me. But one other thing I wanted to show is that, I can talk peaceably to Muslims. We had some Christian apologists say that, hey, you're never going to have any Muslims who want to talk to you again now because of Islamicized me. Well, that's not really the case. It's not true. Farsight. Someone added up the super chats. Farsight just dropped a super chat. Tell me if it's hit 50. I think I've got a freestyle, which is sort of odd to do on 9/11. But nonetheless, I think it's going to happen. Tippy Bear, no, he's not the Quran-only guy. Tippy Bear's asking if Nadir's a Quran-only guy. He's not, but he tries to minimize it. He's a Salafi. But he sometimes doesn't get too much into the Hadith, I think. But he is Salafi, so he's not Quran-only. Which Quran is Nadir using? I don't know. Abu says, the synagogue question is an interesting one, vis-a-vis Saudi Arabia, as there is a hadith about expelling Jews from the Jazariya, at least the area of the two Masjidin. Yeah, so there's one that speaks about expelling them from the peninsula. So Jews and Christians, in essence, can't establish anything there. It doesn't mean that a Christian can't live in Saudi Arabia. But I think they're not allowed to enter Mecca or Medina, though. Isn't that the case? Guys, let's see what else. Okay, I'm just reading through the comments, guys. Today what I was doing was I wanted to present some things to you guys. If you notice, I unloaded a lot of information to really set the background, the true stuff, and then I wanted someone to be able to give their position. And I always find Nadir's positions very, very interesting. The concept that jihad is something that saves Jews, I find absolutely flabbergasting, but I wanted him at least to share it. And so it wasn't really a debate. I was just letting him have some time to speak, to give his perspective there. Yes, Thomas, Nadir did debate David Wood. All right, so yeah, it looks like it is freestyle time. Tippy Bear, thank you for bringing in the hadith we were referring to. That the Messenger of Allah said, I believe that's a hadith, or is that a surah? Which one is it, Tippy Bear? Could you let me know? The Messenger of Allah said, if I live, if Allah wills, I will expel the Jews and the Christians from the Arabian Peninsula. Yeah, that's what I thought, Gwendolyn, that you have to be a Muslim to enter Mecca. And so, it is what it is. But notice, John Williams says, most Muslim countries are against the radical terrorists. They fight and arrest them. Well, there's an interesting ambivalence there. Like, for example, Saudi Arabia puts down the most radical of all in a lot of ways because they want to retain their kingdom in the way it is. But nonetheless, 11 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi, and there's substantial proof that the Saudi high up members in the Saudi government were involved with aiding and abetting the 9/11 terrorists. Same thing with the government of Iran, actually. They helped them with passports and situations like that. That actually reminds me, it's time to see what would be some good resources on this topic, I believe. And so I need to actually help you guys to be able to understand this topic more. And so I think it's time. Backpack. What are some resources for the listeners so they can better understand jihad and the history about it?
Backpack, magic backpack. I'm the Mega the Mac attack backpack. With this sack reacts, I'm like a maniac. I got stacks of facts to keep you all on track.
Why, thank you very much, Backpack. Let's see what we've got here. Wow. Some awesome books. Look at these, guys. Thanks, Backpack. This is kind of what I was just talking about. Here's one called The Looming Tower. If you guys notice, Hulu just made a show about this, right? The Looming Tower. Not a Christian writer, so this isn't a Christian book, but it's Al-Qaeda and the Road to 9/11. Very, very interesting book. Talks about how basically there was at least one guy in the U.S. government who had an idea about what was going on, Joseph O'Neill. But this book is thoroughly researched and really helps you understand the whole history of it, which is pretty amazing, pretty radical. So if you really want to understand 9/11 and everything before and after up until a certain date, The Looming Tower is really one of the best books by Lawrence Wright that you could get. The Looming Tower, Al-Qaeda and the Road to 9/11 by Lawrence Wright. Then sort of the sequel, although by a different author, to that, I would say, is this book, Hunting in the Shadows, The Pursuit of Al-Qaeda Since 9/11 by Seth Jones. This book is also very excellent to understand what happened afterwards, you know, sort of the response to 9/11 and whatnot. Hunting in the Shadows, again, not a Christian book, anything like that, but very substantial, well-researched, well-written, well-documented. And you put these two books together, and you really have a really strong handle on it here. And, of course, the book I was reading from earlier, I highly recommend, The Al-Qaeda Reader, edited and translated by Raymond Ibrahim. This will help you understand Al-Qaeda and their foundational documents, including things written by bin Laden himself. It's almost 300 pages. There's really no book like it. It's an amazing, amazing book. And then lastly, this is the one I recommend the most out of all of them, Nabeel Qureshi, Answering Jihad, A Better Way Forward. Nabeel writes so clear, so concise. The book's 170-some pages. It's easy to read. He writes really well. This book is great. The way he does it, I love this book. It's something you could sit down, give yourself a couple hours, and kind of just read through in one sitting, and it'd be worth it. So I highly recommend this, Answering Jihad by Nabeel Qureshi. So those are the 4 books I recommend today. I don't have the links yet, but I'm going to put the links there in the description box. Please use those because it helps through the Amazon affiliate link. Now with that, it looks like it's time to freestyle. The Greatest says, by the way, I'm an ex-Muslim. Thank you and David Wood so much. Oh, wow. Well, praise God, The Greatest, and thank you. I'm humbled by the fact you would even include me in that. That's quite amazing. And you're also putting more that I'll put on there on the screen there. That's really good to hear. Okay, guys, I'm looking at the comments kind of like one last time. Michelle's saying she tried to super chat and it did not work. Again, I'm sorry about the buffering. I'm going to look into it and find out. No, Michelle, the super chat didn't come through. I don't know what it is either, but a lot of people did. Yeah, Tippy Bear is saying that it's a Sahih authentic hadith. Tippy Bear, you know quite a bit about Islam, it looks like. I like you in the chat when we talk about this. You're very helpful. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I don't claim to be the expert or master. You know, all I know is I can read and study and learn. I'm not David Wood or Sam Shamoon, and I don't think you guys expect me to be. But I approach these things in my own way, and I like to talk about them. And I think it can be helpful. You know, the things I was reading, I think, can be very helpful to learn from. All right, so, again, really great comments. And Gregorian, what was Nadir's justification for the Beni Qurayza? He didn't give a justification for why all those Jews were slaughtered by Muhammad. In today's program, we're just kind of going through stuff. But Gregorian, in other debates he has, and what he says is basically, my understanding is they were in violation of a treaty, and they were in violation of a treaty to the point that it amounted to treason. And then he goes on to say, now this is not true, but he has said this in his debates. Listen to the debate with Sam Shamoun, that a judgment was given by a Jew himself and that they viewed it as right and just since it came from the Bible. That's kind of the essence of what he'll say about it. Now, listen to his debate. Just type in Nadir Ahmed versus Sam Shamoun. And that's a real debate. That's not what Nadir and I were doing. You know, we were coming on just kind of talking and all that. Rox B with the super chat. Thank you, Rox B. I got some really faithful people up in here. And Walk in Truth says, vocab is such an inspiration. Wow, I don't know why, but that means a lot. You guys are quite the audience. I really appreciate you guys. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let me get a beat going. And we may talk about Islam Thursday as well. I got a couple different things brewing that I'm working on. But remember, the show's schedule as of now is changed to 5 o'clock East Coast Standard Time. That's the new show time, Tuesday and Thursday. But pay attention, guys, because this week, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to drop some programs I did with Nabil Qureshi himself. I have audio interview I did when Nabil was alive. And in this audio interview, we talk about, were the early Muslims actually persecuted? Very insightful. I also have an audio interview I'm going to drop with Al-Fadi, a former Muslim, and I asked the question to him, was Osama bin Laden a faithful Muslim? And he answers yes, and he gives his reasons why. It's an excellent interview. So this is all in honor of 9/11. I also have an interview I'm going to drop, another on Nabil's, the anniversary of his death is coming up here soon. I'm going to drop some audio then to honor and commemorate that. I also have a show I did with James White that is called What is on Al-Qaeda's Bookshelf, where we discuss the worldview of Al-Qaeda, and it's an audio interview as well. And I found it to be a very helpful interview. Michelle, you can still ask the question, but I'm about to do the freestyle. And so I'm still not sure what we're doing Thursday, but I'll let you know. Yeah, I know, Gregorian. I'm not saying his answer was right. He's saying they never actually violated the treaty Muhammad was told they were going to by Jabril. Yeah, Gregorian. Yeah, I know that it's not a good argument. I was just telling you what he was going to say. Okay, so lots of stuff on Islam this week, guys. Hebrew Israelites, I'm sorry, you guys got to take the back burner for a little bit. Although Brother Jay's video is about to come out, and when that drops, I will be talking about Hebrew Israelite stuff again, because I don't know if you guys have seen, but he dropped the teaser song, and the other one's coming out on the 17th. It's going to be excellent. All right, it is time to get into the freestyle. How do I freestyle on a day where we've been talking about this? I don't know. But you guys let me know about the sound, okay? How's the sound, guys? This beat's kind of hardcore. Can you guys hear it? How's it sound? How's my mic sound with the beat? I want to make sure it's loud enough. Guys, let me know. I need to know what sound. Like if I rap like this, how would it sound? Let me know. I'm going to start the beat from the beginning, okay? Alright, they're saying it's good. I need to make sure this beat is loud enough, though. Alright. Yes. I look in the chat quick and I see Apple Goo says it's fantastic. I'm a rap addict, spastic, dramatic. Here we go again, it's like cinematic. Remember that time when we lost our power? 9/11, we saw the Twin Tower. Planes running, crazy man. What's going on? And now the blood stain is on the ground. Look around and a fire engine sound was going down. Nobody knows it's profound. It's a battle that's done been around. Yes, yes, y'all. Jihad is sound. The word, the tongue, and the Arabic. I grab the mic, I spit this quick. I gotta speak the truth still while I can. Ha, he said, expel them, my man, from the Arabian land peninsula. That's what he said, I'm getting into bruh, the truth. Yes, y'all, Muhammad was whack, but it's all good, cause Christ is coming back to the suffering. Excuse the buffering. Hey yo, how you doing? Someone needs a buffering. and aspirin for Nadir. Okay, the music is low. Can you hear it now? Tippy beer up in your ear. Rock the microphone. Planes in the air. Straight to the ground. Now they going down. Boom, crash. That's the sound of the flight called United. For a minute, we were united, but now the U.S. is like divided. Hello, how you doing? I invited Nadir on the show. Today we talked, and now you ain't like it. Well, it's my fault. Well, I'm sorry that y'all ain't like it. I didn't know how it was gonna go. I'm not psychic. He's not my sidekick. He's just a Muslim, but he's my friend, and yes, I love him. I'll talk to him on the phone all alone. I'm Vocab Malone, and when I'm home, I say, hey, yo, Nadir, pick up real quick. We'll talk, and then we'll stick to the truth of our text, and then I'll read it, and it's like a hex upon the minds of Al-Qaeda. So how you doing? Now they not the main player. ISIS is. Who's the next to have the vice grips of the Middle East? I don't know the future, but I know Christ will sew it like a suture when he comes back and cracks the sky. Hello, how you doing? Takia means lie. Why, oh, why? I feel fly, the greatest. I see you put the fire emoji. I see it in my eye. I know the warrior woman in apple goo. Mic check, mic check, mic check. 1, 2 to the 3, 4. A light for the Gentiles. You keeping score? Yes, yes, y'all. Who else is in the chat? It's a freestyle rap, Michelle and all of that. Who else? GMS knows I'm whack, right? That's what you say. Hey, how you doing? Today is today. Vocab Malone. I'm an MC. At least I used to be. What's up, Rocks B? Okay, see, somebody appreciated it. Good. Carmel Crunk. Hey, Carmel Crunk says, I enjoyed this. It was cool hearing his perspective. All right, good. Hey, Nadir, I hope you're still listening. Carmel Crunk says she enjoyed hearing her perspective. And again, Nadir, I got love for you, bro. I mean, I radically disagree with your conclusions, but I can talk to you. And I appreciate, you understood when it was time to go, when it was time to come on. You didn't give me any hassle about any of that. Sometimes people are like, well, let's do this, do that, and they'll complain and stuff. You didn't do any of that. As long as we can just keep cool like that, I'll talk to you again no matter what my audience says. Now, again, guys, I'm not in full-on debate mode. If you notice, I haven't done debates in a minute. I'm going to do them again, but what's going on is I'm really trying to put out video content. And for full-out debate mode, I'm not quite in that mode unless something extreme pops up. I'm doing more content production. Doesn't mean never or anything like that, but it is what it is. So I'm looking one last time here at the comments. And hey, check this out, guys. Hebrew Israelites are back. GMS Jew Yorker says, Vocab should be tortured in Gitmo for his horrific freestyle. Hey, GMS Jew Yorker, even though your name's Jew, so they probably wouldn't accept Jew, you should probably convert to Salafi Islam talking like that. You're right there with the radicals, bro. You're right there with them, if they really are the radicals. Shamila says he's going to say you ran away. If he does, I probably won't talk to him again, but hopefully he's cool, right? He knew the format in advance. It was just kind of laid back. Thank you, Michelle. So, hey, I'm going to leave your comment up there. Energy 00 says, can I sing country? Thank you for your question. Not only can I not sing country, I can't even listen to country. But if I wanted to do some kind of weird whack imitation, I probably could because we've done some funny freestyles before. All right, anyways, that's pretty much out. And you guys are a great, great audience. Thank you for making the freestyle happen. We are going to be back Thursday. And remember, backpackradio.com is where you can get all the audio podcasts. Thank you to all those who are helping with the social media. And let me do one. Nah, I don't have time to do it. Actually, I need to get off here. Next time we go live, I'm going to do my darndest to drop the name drop all my Patreon supporters, because I say once a month I try to name drop you guys on social media. So next show I'm going to do my darndest to remember to do that. So with that, guys, I think that's the end. I think I need to play something. I feel like I need to play something. What's a good way to go out? I feel like there's something I could do, but I don't know. What would be good to do? I don't know. Anyways, you guys, thanks again for tuning in to Backpack Radio Live. I'm going to go. I'll see you Thursday. And again, thank you for being one of the best, like being the best audience hands down. And shout out to you, Nadir. Keep Nadir in prayer. Keep him in prayer, right? I think keep him in prayer. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, y'all.